Hey everybody, welcome back. Sive here with forexpeacearmy.com. So let's try to prepare the plan as usual for the next week. As usual, we prepared the report today. Actually, I think that we're taking a look at the major problem right now, major questions. What we're getting right now, what we will get, general recession or inflation spiral. You probably could see a lot of opinion on the subject, and for one scenario is for another in big media, so different, even big banks have no actually consensus on this subject. But I think that here's some misunderstanding yet, because nobody talks about the term of both stages, inflation and recession. And today in the weekly report, we have tried to find out what in fact we're getting and what we will get, and how this will impact on the performance on the euro currency, what we should expect in the nearest few months or even weeks, and what should happen and could happen later. Yes, of course, we do not have all components for analysis right now, because currently the big question, major question, is stimulus. Whether the central banks, governments are ready to provide stimulus to the economy, as in the United States, as in the euro currency, and in Europe, and if for a short-term perspective, where we consider different driving factors, it is not as important, as other subjects are important for this purpose. On a later period, say after the June, after July, somewhere closer to the autumn of the 2026, the question of the stimulus and in general money supply will rise as one of the major drivers for global economy. So that's the things that we have considered. There are lots of interesting stuff there. If you're interested with that, as usual, you could read it. I put the link as usual just down below the video for those of you who are not members of our forum. And let's start it with the short-term perspective, what we're gonna do on the next week. Just to remind you with the position where we stand and what actually we're watching and what actually we need to get. I return back to the bigger picture first. So for instance, on the monthly and weekly chart. On the monthly chart, we are watching for a bullish grabber that might be formed within the 2 sessions, because March will be closed on Tuesday. And this is the big question, whether we will get it or not. For the truth's sake, I would say that appearing of the grabber fits well to the scenario that we discussed in today's weekly report, fundamental report. But at the same time, from the technical point of view, if we wouldn't consider any fundamental background, this drop is quite suitable for a market to touch the yearly pivot point, because it's very close. And usually, a market tends to touch the yearly pivot point through the year, at least once. At this point, it is very handy to the market drop just 1-2 points lower and reach this level. So this is the subject from the technical point of view. It means that on Monday and Tuesday, we will be watching what will happen with the monthly grabber. If we will not get it, it might be a very decisive moment for overall tendency on euro currency, at least for a few weeks, as well as the fact if we will get it. It also might be very important. So that's the cornerstone currently for a technical picture on euro currency. This pattern is also confirmed by the performance on the weekly. So if we take a look, a particular weekly potential diamond, a reversal pattern, or you could treat it just as a widening triangle, it doesn't matter. So it also stands in direct relation to the grabber. If we suggest that grabber will be formed, it means that we will get upper direction inside of the pennant and retesting on the first top. So market return back to the 120, 121 area. So that might be performance for a few weeks here. If we will not get the grabber, it means that chances on a possible downside breakout here will increase. So you can see that this pattern stands very close to the grabber that we have for the monthly in terms of the overall meaning. Why I'm speaking about this? Because if you now take a look at the daily chart, you will have absolutely different understanding on a picture that we have here. If you consider daily chart separately, not keeping in mind the picture on the high time frames, you see nothing. What's going on here? Nothing. So you have pullback, yes, nominal trend remains bullish, reaching confluence, dropping on retracement. That's it. But putting that daily picture in the context of the high time frames, it tells you that here the major question is whether we get the bullish reversal pattern. So to start this rally above the 120, market has to build a background. That's what we're watching here. And depending on what background we will get, it actually will tell us a lot what will happen and whether we will get the grabber, whether we will get reversal or not. That's what we will be watching for. Now, for this moment, euro keeps chances to do something, despite this recent drop. For example, on the follow time frame chart, we still could recognize this shape, and nominally this pattern still could be realized if market starts upward action. I do not know what will be the triggering factor here. Maybe it will jump in common inflation data in Europe that we will get next week, or it will be some secret negotiations between the United States and Iran. This will be some leaking information, for example, that could really drop demand for the dollar. So if everybody will see that everything's coming to the ceasefire. So other reasons might be, but for now, market still holds the shape and chances exist that we will get it. Of course, I would prefer to get for this pattern is a flat neckline and reaching the OP target. So I would be more happy if I would see the touching of the OP and starting of the shoulder later. Because on this performance, as we see it, that story and that show could easily turn to the triangle shape, what we do not want to get, at least bulls do not want to get. Bears will be happy with this, but bulls, they will lose everything just because appearing of the continuation bearish pattern here and right around the bottom after the big drop, it's clear sign that we will get further downside drop. So that's the thing that we would like to, well, I'm speaking from the bullish position, so that thing that we would like to escape here. But bears, as I said, well, that's might be a really great story for the bears in the current situation. Finally, we come into the hourly chart where our Friday scenario has been realized very accurately. You could see that market indeed has dropped mostly to the XOP target. It is down right now. Yes, what we have to acknowledge that yes, overall action stands not really fast. I think that this is mostly the impact of the indirect pressure from the crude oil prices. If you take a look at this chart that we are monitoring constantly right now, let's take a look what has happened recently. Crude oil is dropping, this reverse chart of the crude oil, and euro is falling. So that's, I call as indirect impact. That's what's happening with the euro currency. It's not some euro currency valuation, fundamental background, something like data in Europe, although there's also something to think about. But that it's direct impact of the hydrocarbon prices right now. So maybe euro doesn't want to follow, but it has to, forcefully. So from that standpoint of view, we have this choppy action. Yes, we have good spikes from all levels that we are mentioning. That was the OP conference area, good spike for scalp traders. Once again, XOP agreement 115, good spike. But it's definitely not enough to for making conclusion that market preparing as a reversal. Yes, we have Gartley's Chiputsu that we mentioned. Even minor grabbers have been formed recently. But it's not enough. We need to get something bigger. First, we need to get clear bullish reversal pattern here. For example, if it turns to the hand and shoulders, market starts rebound. That will be the first starting point. Then we start trading it, moving. Then we turn our attention to the bigger scale, this one. Once we get to the neckline, that might be this one, and so on. Gradually is coming on the weekly chart, resolving this question with the grabber on the monthly, and this is how situation should perform. So correspondingly, if we get nothing here, market start dropping. Hand shoulders stands at the edge of the failure, returning back down and turning to the triangle, as we said. Be prepared for challenging of the lows at least. and downside breakout here. Grabber, if it will happen relatively fast within the 2 sessions, grabber on the monthly chart might be not be formed. So here's the how situation stands in fact. That's the patterns that we will be watching for. That's probably enough for me for now. Let's just give market some time on Monday, Tuesday, and we'll see what will happen. And I think that the decisive moment will be on Wednesday, when we will see what will happen with the grabber, and on Thursday when we will get the CPI numbers in Europe. That's also might be important.